Well, hello everyone, and thanks for joining us for Bloomsday's first live Facebook Live event. I'm Don Cardon, the Bloomsday Race Director, and I'm here with Carol Hunter, who is a board member, past president, and in charge of our corporate cup. We're going to be sharing some of the things that are new this year. We'll share some of the important need-to-know items for Bloomsday. And we'll take some questions that have come into us over the past week, and then towards the end we'll answer some of the questions that come in live today. So again, thank you everyone for joining us. Let's talk first about signing up. We hope you've signed up. If you haven't, you have until April 22nd to sign up online. That's for the $20 fee. If you're doing this through the mail, you have less time. That's until the 17th. And then it's still possible to sign up after that. It just gets more expensive. So you can sign up online late through the 29th for the $40 fee, or on race weekend. Friday and Saturday you can sign up for that $40 fee. But heck, that's twice as much as the fee now, so you really ought to sign up as soon as possible.
Agreed.
So let's talk about a few things that people do ask us about. And I think maybe we'll have Carol start by talking a little bit about the strollers.
Sure. So we love to have families at Bloomsday, obviously. And if you choose to take your small ones in a stroller or a baby jogger, it's a lot of fun. It's a great time. You would line up in the red section, which is at the end of the race. But we do ask that you walk the entire course. We know a lot of you like to enjoy running with your baby jogger and that kind of thing, but for Bloomsday, it's more of it's a walking event for you. So we'd love to have you, and please just remember that it is going to be a walking event for you. And also, what we think is a unique thing to Bloomsday is we do ask that both the operator and the child in the stroller be registered for the race. And Don, I've had people come up to me in their early 20s and say, I love that I still have my infant small race t-shirt, finisher shirt. And so we do ask that both the operator and the child be registered for the race, and of course for that they get a t-shirt.
Yep, that's also a requirement of our insurance provider. So we have to have everybody signed up officially. And as Carol says, it's fun, even if your kids are a little bit too small to wear that shirt now. A couple of years from now, they say, hey, look, here's my shirt from the very first year. And then we also have, in our online results, they'll be there really forever. So it's a good thing for the kids to actually be officially signed up. One thing I wanted to mention, we do, the permit that we have with the city is for the course to close at 1:30. And we have to start shutting down the finish area then, and opening up the streets to traffic again as provided in our permit with the city. So we know that there are still people out on the course then, that's fine. If you happen to be one of those people, you can still finish. We should have a supply of t-shirts there at the finish line, even if it's closing down. If we don't, or if you get a t-shirt on Bloomsday and it's not fitting, and you haven't exchanged it at the end of the t-shirt line, after Tuesday, contact the Bloomsday office and we'll make sure to get you the size that you want.
Absolutely. So let's talk about check-in in the trade show. To pick up your bib, it is the weekend of Bloomsday. We open Friday, the weekend of Bloomsday, at 11:30 a.m. And we are open until 6:30 p.m. that day, 8 p.m. on Friday night. And then Saturday, we're open from 9 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. But you know, it's more than just the bib pickup. It is the trade show that we love to showcase. It has numerous vendors. You don't have to be a runner. You don't have to have a bib to be going to the trade show. You can come down with your friends. You can shop. If there are booths related to fitness, and it's just a great time. And I would absolutely say that if you're going down with a friend to pick up their bib, come on down with them, because it really is. It's a show in itself, and it's a lot of fun.
Exactly. And I want to mention a little bit about the Monroe Street Bridge. We are very cautious about having too many people who aren't official entrants in areas where the runners are. So we are going to say, if you or you have friends or family that want to spectate by the finish line, they should be up by, let's see, it's Broadway and Monroe. And we're going to try to keep too many people from being down around the finish area, because we are trying to get people properly timed and taken care of there. And then if you're one of the finishers, if you will just, believe me, I know what this is like. You finish, you want to stop, you want to chat with your friends, you want to tell the person that you just beat that, hey, good try, but I beat you. But whatever it is, we want you to try to keep moving to the other end of that bridge and then into T-shirt distribution, because we're always concerned with as many people as are signed up that we're going to clog up the finish area or the bridge or the T-shirt distribution. So please keep moving until you get through T-shirt distribution. And that brings me to the issue of results. So you've run your race, and of course, in the past, as many of you know, we've always had a Inlander results book that comes out the Tuesday after Bloomsday. And it's a wonderful publication that has all kinds of great photos of the race and the results that are also published online. But we are going to move with the times, and unfortunately we've learned that for the most part people are not picking up those results book. So we have decided instead this year to do a section in the Inlander that's going to come out about 2 weeks before the race. And instead of talking about after the race, it's going to talk about all kinds of things that are going to be occurring for race weekend that you can learn about. So it's going to be informational. It's going to get people excited. And of course, the results are always online. And in fact, they're online the night of Bloomsday. And so that's another reason why, Dawn, we decided not to do it, because fact is, in our world, 2 days after Bloomsday is like a year ago for a lot of people. So we're really excited about that. Now, we will still have, in the normal Inlander book that comes out the week of Bloomsday, there'll still be some results in there. That'll be just in their regular publication. So if you're somebody that's been collecting those booklets, you'd be well served to collect the one that comes out ahead of time, because it'll have a lot of the same feel to it. And you could, if you wanted, you could print out your results from online and include it in there for your collection if you have one. That's a good idea. Yeah. So we've got some questions that have come in online prior to today's live broadcast, and I'm going to go ahead and, Dawn, just ask those for you. Sure. A question from Lynn Johns, and her question is, Dawn, how do you find out what color group you start with? Yes, you know that the assignment of the color groups doesn't actually happen until about the Monday before Bloomsday, and that's when our data crew does the assignment. So once they've done that, if you have entered online, you'll get an email. It'll be about 3 or 4 days before Bloomsday, and it'll tell you what, actually it'll tell you what your bib number is, but also what your color group is. So that's actually one of the advantages of signing up online, is you do get that information ahead of time. If you've signed up through the mail, you won't find out what color you're in until you check in on Friday or Saturday. So again, it's one good reason to sign up online. That's right. Thank you. And we have a question from Nora Adolph. She says, how can the Bloomsday coordinators make it so people can stick to runners on the left and walkers on the right? It's a great question. I wish I knew the answer. I mean, we would love it if people would follow that rule, because, and we're fine if people want to walk. Gosh, more than well over half of our participants are walkers. We just think if you're jogging or running and you need to walk, if you can just move to the right, that would be very helpful, and let the people that are actually running pass on the left. So I don't know how to answer the question, because we try to get the information out there. We try to encourage people to follow that rule, but we only have a certain amount of, I guess, patrolling or whatever of the field that we can do. Thank you. You know, we're a big race, and unfortunately there are times where we can't completely control human behavior, but we hope that people try to follow the rules generally and still have a great time. Exactly. Okay, we have a question here from Kim Mitchell. She says, I heard something about Spokane Guild School being part of the race. What's that about? Well, every year we have an official charity for that year, and we select a different one each year. And this year it is the Spokane Guild School and Neuromuscular Center. And they do some wonderful work with kids who are challenged in the early years of life. And they are our official charity this year. So there's information on our website by clicking the charity button on the left side of our homepage about the organization, or when you're signing up, you'll see that it says, would you like to add a donation for the Guild School? And all that money that comes in, we give it to the Guild School or whatever our charity is for that year. So we're hoping we get a good response on this, because we really are pretty impressed with the great work that they do at the Guild School. So if you haven't signed up yet and you're going to sign up soon, if you can add a donation, that would be wonderful.
Thank you. Yeah, they do some amazing work. Okay, the next question comes from Suzanne Stanley. She says, how does one volunteer for the water station?
This is a good question. We do get questions about volunteering, and they are basically all answered the same way, which is on our website, on the homepage, if you look on the left side, there's a button that says volunteers. And every one of our volunteer opportunities is listed there. It tells you what it is, what the requirements are, the hours that it's involved. And then there'll be a highlighted name. If you want to participate as a volunteer in that section, you click on that, and that will initiate an email to that individual. And you just let them know, I'd like to be a volunteer in your section. So one of those sections is for water aid, and there are 5 stations. I know that the second one, which is at Spokane Falls Community College, and the final one just after the finish line, they are both usually looking for volunteers. So if you click on the individual whose name is highlighted there, you can let them know that you'd like to help there. If you have friends, do that as well, or let them know that those people are involved. We do like to, or they like to know who is signing up. You know, sometimes people just show up to volunteer. It usually works out okay, but they like to know ahead of time so they can get you a volunteer T-shirt. So, and those are pretty cool. So please, if you're interested or you know somebody that's interested, have them sign up through that online process.
And I'll tell you, if you want 40,000 people thinking that you're the best person they saw all morning, that would be a great place to volunteer. Okay, another question from Kim McGivern. She says, can we mail a smartphone picture of our race results to qualify for yellow seating, or does it have to be mailed?
Well, you can do that, and it usually works out okay. We've just learned that when people email their results, whether it's a photo, as you're describing here, of the results, it just doesn't always come through as clearly as we'd like. And for example, sometimes people will send it and it only has their name. And so our data crew that wants to do the assignment, they have to try to figure out who this person is. If it's an unusual name, it's probably pretty easy. But if it's a John Smith or a Mary Jones or something, then it gets more complicated. So you can do that. Just make sure you include your name and your address and your date of birth, and that way we can locate the record that we're trying to update to a second seat, or a yellow seating.
Very good. Okay, let's answer maybe some of the questions that have come in online while we're here live. From Shelley Meyer, can you park at the arena to get your bib? Is there a shuttle? Yes,
on both scores. You can park at the arena. And we have a shuttle that we don't charge for the shuttle. However, there is a charge to park at the arena that the Public Facilities District charges. I think it will be $7, but it's a little complicated this year because the Cirque du Soleil has some performances going on, and so there will be people parking for those performances. And when they have performances there, they charge more. So, but we will have a shuttle running from there on Friday and Saturday to check in the trade show.
That's great. The question from Lynn Cunningham. She says, my family is registered, but I have an 8-month-old. How does that work? We've talked about that a little bit. But then she also said, what advice can you give us for the little bloomies?
Well, for the real little ones, because I've done this, they do pretty well because they usually fall asleep when you're pushing them in the stroller or the baby jogger, and they usually do pretty well. It's funny because I have a couple of grandkids who are now 2.5, and I don't think they're going to be participating this year because they won't sit in those
Harder
strollers
age.
for that long.
Yeah.
So generally the littler ones, like a year or younger, do pretty well. It starts to get a little dicey as they get older than that. Until, it's funny, we have kids that are really young that do Bloomsday and seem to do pretty well. We have to leave that up to the parents to decide, is my child ready to do this, to spend several hours out there, or should we wait a few years before they do that?
I would just add to that too, to pay special attention to exactly when the red group actually starts. So of course we know Bloomsday starts at 9 a.m. That's the first wave. But the red starts a bit later. So if you think that your child only is good for about 2.5 hours, don't go down too early. Make sure you're there closer to the time that the red actually starts.
Yeah.
And then we have just a couple of comments from Nancy Trejo, says she's so excited for her 3rd year. And then a shout out to my niece in Pullman, go Cougs. She says hello to her aunt. Hi, Erin.
Okay.
Okay, so we have some other things we want to share. And Don, we could talk a little bit about, let's talk about what's new for Bloomsday 2018.
Sure. Okay. So every year we do try to have do some things we haven't done before. A lot of those are kind of either high-tech or sort of high-tech. And so this year, one of the things we're doing is we have a newsletter called The Rundown. And that has some of the same type of information that we're sharing here, but really more kind of background on sometimes some of our key organizers, sometimes some of our participants who have interesting stories to share. It's kind of fun. If you're into Bloomsday and you'd like to get those, all you do is go to our website, and there's a place where you can sign up for the newsletter called The Rundown. And so that's new this year. We also have set up Snapchat filters along the course. So there are 7 filters, all different. So if you are someone that uses Snapchat, that'll be kind of fun to take some photos out there. And it was interesting to us, some of the more aged members of our organizational team, when we found out in our post-race survey a couple years ago how many people have their smartphones with them during Bloomsday. You probably aren't going to find too many of the Kenyans at the front of the pack that have theirs with them, although they might have them back in the hotel. But we have 72% of our participants have their smartphones with them during Bloomsday. So we know they're taking a lot of photos, and this year they can use some of those Snapchat filters along the course or at the trade show as well. And then also we added this year emergency alerts. So when you're signing up online, you can put a emergency number there. Well, what's that for? Well, we don't know. There could be a course delay at the last minute. There might be some weather issues that we want to tell people about. Anything that sort of is along the lines of an emergency, we want to have the ability to let people give people the information and have them pass it along to their friends and family. So that's the other thing we've added this year that I think it's not a fun thing, but I think it can be in some situations a very effective thing. So not a bad idea to put an emergency alert number when you sign up.
Yeah, safety is very important to us, obviously. We have a question that just came in live from a Debbie Conklin, and she says, "I've always just been curious, why cannot the race start a little earlier?"
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be impossible. We could start earlier. It's looking back in history, the very first year we started at 1:30 in the afternoon, and we did find that was on a warm day, that was horrendous for a heat stroke. So I think the next year we moved it to noon, and then the year after that we moved it to where it is now at 9. Now the problem with starting earlier than 9 is some of our volunteers, well, I'd say a lot of our volunteers now have to be out there really early. So we try not to tax our volunteers more than we absolutely need to. And we have some of them that are out there now about 4:30 in the morning. So moving the start of the race earlier would mean asking those people to be out there a lot earlier. So we kind of decided 9 works pretty well for most people.
Thank you. Okay, so does Bloomsday ever do any discounts for babies, toddlers, military, or senior discounts?
We don't do that. And the reason we don't is our entry fee is really very low. If you look at some of the other races around the country that are similar to what Bloomsday does, they generally are $40, $50, $60 and more depending on the distance. So we've said we'll try to keep our entry fee low, but and so we have it set at $20 for this year, but we do charge that for everyone rather than having a higher entry fee and giving discounts. So you know, I know some people would obviously like to have a discount for certain areas, but we have taken the position that, but we'll just try to keep the overall entry fee low.
And I agree with you, Don. I think Spokane being kind of a family-oriented town, it's really nice to know that a family of 5, for instance, can spend all of their morning at Bloomsday and not spend over $100. Yeah. So we take a lot of pride in that, I think.
We do.
Okay, next question. Can I walk Bloomsday without registering?
No. No, we want everybody on the course has to be officially entered. And again, that's a requirement of our insurance provider, and it's also just, frankly, a fairness issue because we have a lot of expenses that are incurred in closing the course, putting water aid stations, medical aid, all the different things that we do to make sure that that course is open and safe. We think that those costs should be shared by everyone. So we want everyone, whether they're just walking or whatever, to have signed up.
Well, let's talk about the perks of registering. You get that amazing finisher shirt. You get your results.
If you get to the finish.
Yeah, that's true.
You have to get to the finish.
Good point. It is a finisher shirt. So, okay, let's see. Next question. How can my friends and family all be in the same color group?
Okay, this is a great question, and it's a little tricky, but I'll give you the simplest answer is to get all the information on all those people. So, name, address, date of birth, how many Bloomsdays, whatever, everything that we ask for entrance, get it all together, go online, enter everybody at the same time, and then there is an option on that online entry that says keep everybody together. Okay, so that's the best way to do it. I won't bore you by telling you why some people who put down the same time get put into different color groups, but it's a quirk of the system that you can get around by doing that online signing thing at one time. Now the other thing is, once you're assigned to a color group with Bloomsday, you can't move up. You can't get into a faster group. But anytime you want to move back, you can move back to a slower starting group. So if you and your family and friends want to start together, but you've got different colors, you just need to move back to the group that starts latest, and then there won't be an issue. So it's hard with as many people as we have to make it easy to all get into the same color group. But if you do that online thing, that works pretty slick.
Or go back to the most common denominator where you're all together.
Exactly,
right?
Or go back.
Okay. Okay, you've talked about this a little bit, maybe just to go over it again. How does one volunteer for Bloomsday generally? Okay,
volunteering for Bloomsday, we have all of our volunteer opportunities described on our website. If you go to our main page, our home page, on the left side there's a button that says volunteers. Click on that, and on the drop down menu, all of the volunteer opportunities that we have available are there, and they're described what they are, what the time frame is, and then they have the name of the person who's the captain of that area. And if you click on that name, that'll initiate an email to that individual, and then you just say, hey, I'd like to help out in this area. And they usually get back to you within a day or two and let you know, yes, you're in, please come and help. So we get most of our volunteers that way, and a lot of people come back year after year to the same area. So and some of our volunteers actually are participants. So if you're If you want to help out with number distribution on Friday or Saturday, and you want to run on Sunday, that works just fine. You can be a volunteer and then also be a participant. So thank you. If you are planning to volunteer, thank you for doing that. Just look on our website for that volunteers button.
And at the end of the weekend, if you do both, you end up with 2 beautiful shirts.
2 shirts on one weekend.
That's right. Okay, next question. If somebody forgot to add the STA bus pass in their registration process, can they still get one?
Yes, and the SDA runs a shuttle on Bloomsday morning from 4 different locations. So the question is, gosh, I should have gotten one of those, signed up for that when I entered online. Can I get it now? Well, what you can do is there is an STA booth at check-in, or actually near the trade show and check-in. And when you go to pick up your number, you just go and you say, I want a pass for the shuttle, and you'll get a little sticker to go on your number. And so those are $1.75. It covers both ways.
It's very slick. It's a great way to get downtown on race day. Okay, next question. Where do I pick up my pre-ordered medal and souvenir shirt?
Yes, okay, so we sell souvenir shirts and medals during online registration. And if you pay for one of those or end up paying for one of those when you register, after you pick up your number at check-in on Bloomsday weekend, when you walk through the chip checking thing, which gets you into the trade show, look to your right. That's where the Bloomsday souvenir booth will be. And that's where you'll pick up your, whether it's your medal or your souvenir shirt. So they've got a list of everybody that paid for those, and they're ready to hand them out.
Yeah. Thank you. How about, can someone else pick up my race bib?
Yes, actually, and we get that question a lot. And it's fine if you want to pick up somebody else's number or somebody else wants to pick up yours. But number one, make sure that that person knows that you're picking up for them. And second of all, it really helps to know their date of birth, because when you're checking in on Bloomsday weekend, all the numbers are there by age group, by gender and age group. And so you don't want to be scratching your head saying, how old was that person exactly? So if you know their date of birth, you'll be able to get to the right line, pick up their number. And so you can pick up as many as you want, as long as those people know it and you know where to go to pick them up.
Great. So Don, what about Junior Bloomsday? Are we doing that?
Yeah, Junior Bloomsday has a pretty interesting history. It wasn't organized by the same people that organized Bloomsday, us. For a few years, it was a very large event. It was about 2 or 3 weeks before the big Bloomsday. And it was at most of the time that was out at Albee Stadium. And that went on for a number of years, and then it kind of went out of existence and kind of had gotten much smaller. And so they decided to close it down. About 5 years ago, our board, our main Bloomsday board, discussed, can we bring it back? We tried to do that for 2 or 3 years. The thing about a children's race is you're taking responsibility for those kids. And so it requires a lot more volunteer support and organization. And we didn't think that we were really doing a very good job on the day before Bloomsday, when we were already using a lot of volunteers, to do another event for kids like that. So we said, until we can figure out how to do it professionally and make sure that it's safe and that the kids are doing the running in a way that's fun for them and safe for them, we're not going to do it. So we're not doing it this year, but we are discussing it among our board to see if we can bring it back in 2019. So hopefully we can get it back, because it's awfully fun to see those kids participate.
It is. There's a lot of enthusiasm about it, especially on our board. It's just a matter of making sure it works for everybody. Let's take some questions that have come online. From Al Mayer, what about age grading the senior seating time?
Sure. So I should explain this for people listening, but our older participants, right now, the way that we do it is we do it in 5-year age groups. So if you're the fastest runner in the 60 to 65 group, you get a medal for that age group. And each age group has a set of medals that are handed out. Now there's a system that he's referring to called age grading, and what it does is it applies some standards to all those older age groups. And so you can kind of compare and say, well, this 80-year-old or 82-year-old or whatever, based on others in his age group, is running a world-class time. And so you can basically compare all the different older runners across the age groups. It's a great idea. We have batted it around a little bit, and we're not doing it this year, but it's certainly something that's under consideration for the future. So it is a fun way to kind of be able to say, yes, I know that you're 48, but I'm better than you in a good way, I think. So
yeah, we really appreciate that feedback. It's helpful. Yeah. Okay, and from Shelley Meyer, is there any other good spots to park on the day I pick up my packet?
You know, it's funny, we get a lot of questions before Bloomsday about parking, but we rarely get comments afterwards from people saying, I couldn't find a place to park. So we know that there are a lot of the parking lots downtown that are open and where you can park. There's a lot of parking on the streets. Just don't park on the streets that are part of the course. And then we mentioned the arena before, and the streets around the arena are open for parking. So I guess I won't direct you to a specific one, although when people ask for a specific one, I usually say the arena. And we're hoping that there'll be plenty of space there this year for people to park if they want. Yes, I think you shouldn't have too much of a problem. You may have to walk a little ways if you decide you want to park on the street.
Right. I think the other thing to point out is that the first day we open, Friday at 11:30, up until about 1 o'clock that day, that's definitely our busiest time. And then it really trickles down from there throughout the entire weekend. So if there's any way your schedule allows you to avoid that first couple of hours, that would be really helpful because I think there's much more parking after that. Okay, another online question from Nancy Trejo. Will there be a bag check where I can leave a bag while I run?
Oh, I'm afraid not. We have limited ability to check baggage. And usually that's limited to some of the elite runners that are participating at the front of the pack, and we do take care of runners that have numbers 500 and below. And I wish we could say that we have a good system for that, but we try to encourage people to come to the line ready to run. Or one of our traditions that's developed over the years is for people to come to the starting line wearing some old clothing, like old sweats or something that they're that they're willing to give up, and to throw those to the side of the course, and we pick those up. We have a crew that picks them up, launders them, and donates them to charity. So that's probably our best option. I know it's not ideal, but that's the best we've been able to figure out how to do it. Okay,
so this is a great question, Don. When will we get to see the finisher shirt, and what color is it?
The tradition we have at Bloomsday is that you don't get to see the color of the shirt or the design until you get to the finish line, and the only exception to that is we find that people who are faster finishers get their finisher shirts and go back on the course, and so people start to see they're spoilers. And that's fine. So that can happen, but otherwise you have to go start to finish and get to that t-shirt distribution to see the color and the design of that year's shirt. It's interesting because we had a year, probably about our 5th year, I think it was, when we had such a problem with T-shirt distribution that people told us it took us, and I believe it took them longer to go through the T-shirt line than it did to do the course. And so we actually spent some time thinking, do we still want to give out our T-shirts at the finish line as a prize for finishing? And we had one of our board members who said, let me see if I can retool our T-shirt distribution to make it smoother. And he did. He was successful. And so we kept the tradition of it being a surprise for finishers. I think that was the right decision. You will find most races around the country, even in Spokane, give it out ahead of time now, give out the T-shirt ahead of time if they have one. It is easier. You already have volunteers sitting there handing out numbers, so a lot of times they want to get those shirts handed out at the same time. But you're going to have to get to the finish line or wait to see people who have gotten to the finish line to see the color and the design of the shirt.
You know, there aren't that many secrets that are kept anymore. You know, there's so much information out there, and this is one of those traditions that no matter what, that'll always be a secret until you finish. So I think it's a lot of fun. Okay, we have an online question from Connie Grumbly. She says, if I sprain my ankle or have another medical issue on the course, what do I do?
If you're on the course, there are 5 medical aid stations. The workers at those stations all have red T-shirts to identify them, and the stations themselves are pretty close to where the water stations are. So if you get there and you're having a problem, just find one of our volunteers and say, where's medical aid? If you don't, they have banners out. You're probably going to be able to see it from the road. So just head over there and they'll take care of you. You know, the only problem with that is if you don't make, we hate to be tough about this, but we think it's important for people to know that if they get the shirt that they've actually gone the distance. So if you have to stop and get a ride back, you won't get a finisher shirt. We do have a sag wagon that comes towards the end of the field, and it will pick up anybody at those medical aid stations who haven't been able to go the distance.
Okay, we just have a couple more questions. Don, this person says, if I miss Bloomsday, can someone else wear my race bib?
No, that's a big no. I mean, that race bib that is created based on the information you've given us when you sign up, and it's specific for you. One of the issues of letting somebody else use that is that it messes up our results, and you think, well, that's not a big issue, is it? And it seems like every year we have somebody who you know, you have a 55-year-old female who lets her nephew, who's 20, use her number. He runs a race, but she shows up in the results as being really fast. And it's kind of an issue that we try to look through those results and find any of those that don't look legit, but we sometimes miss it. When we publish those results as soon as possible afterwards, we want to be accurate. So that's one reason. Probably a bigger reason is because if there's an issue on the course, a medical problem, our medical people can look and see who that is supposed to be, and if and then they can more quickly give appropriate help to that person, medical aid. So it's a safety issue as well. So please don't run with somebody else's number or give your number to somebody else to run with.
Thank you. Okay, and the last question is, can someone hand out flyers and promotional items to participants along the course?
We ask that you don't do that. What happens when you're handing that out is somebody gets a flyer, they look at it, they throw it on the ground. So it creates a pretty big mess on the course. We do try to clean up the course afterwards. The less litter there is out there, the better. If you have an event or activity that you want to promote, you have a couple options. One is you get a booth at the trade show. There's a cost to that. For a 10x10 booth, it's $800, but it does give you the ability to hand out those flyers from your booth to about 40,000 people. So it's a good way to get the word out. We also have a thing called a virtual race bag that we email out to about 25,000 email addresses a few days before Bloomsday and a few days after. And there are ads that can go on that. There's a charge for that, about $250 for to have one of those ads. So if you contact us about the virtual race bag because you'd like to promote an event, we can get you set up.
Okay. Well, I think that's all the questions we've had. Don, anything else you want to say before we sign off?
No, thanks. We
thank
appreciate people tuning in today, and we're looking forward to Bloomsday on May 6th, and hope to see you all there.
See you there.